I've been obsessed with cars since I was 2 years old. I would chase my mom around the house with Hot Wheels. I feel like there's guys that like cars, and then there's really true car guys that like almost hurts to the soul. It's just intrinsic. You can't help it. There's no explanation. My dad liked cars, but he wasn't a crazy car nut like me. I would visit my aunt in Tulsa. She would give give me spending money to go shopping, and I spent all my money on a DuPont registry. August of 1992, there was F40 on the front. We were in Walden Books, and she was like, "You're crazy. That's an expensive magazine. Why do you want that?" And I was like, "I've got to have it." And I still have that magazine. And when I was 12 years old, I was just like, "Got to start saving for my first car." And so I knew how to cut grass, and so my first year, I handed out some flyers and got 3 yards and started my lawn business. As time went on, I would wake up in the morning, I'd get my lawn equipment, we'd get to our first lawn, wait for the sun to come up, and then get a couple yards done, go to school. Sometimes I would skip lunch and go cut grass. So I was just obsessed with making money, and cutting grass is the best way I knew how to do it to buy better cars. I went to college, played a little soccer in college, and just my phone was getting blown up with problems with my guys out working. So I was in statistics class, grabbed my stuff, left, and looked back at the building and said, I'll never step foot in a college or in a university class again. And so I just went to work, and it was like a huge load off my plate. As it evolved, my cars evolved. I went from a Corvette to a Viper. I've owned 14 Vipers. I just got obsessed with Vipers. I was buying and selling Vipers. But then, my obsession's always been exotics, and that was kind of like an entry level, if you will. But I got into Lamborghinis. My first true exotic was the 91 Diablo. It was a terrible experience. I got it, and the clutch was already messed up. Had to put a clutch in it. What I was really after is a Gallardo. So bought a 2004 six-speed Gallardo, had that thing for 5 years, drove it 35,000 miles. It was incredible. Zero issues. Never had a single issue with that car. Fast forward to 2016, and I have a Ford GT. I bought the Ford GT in 2015 at 05. They came out, and said, "Hey, we're announcing we're going to have a new Ford GT come 2017," and it was in 2016. And there was an application process, and I was so intrigued by that. And I was like, the only downfall of that is I've got no chance. I was busy. I was busy working. And, by this time, we're mainly a design, build, landscape firm, not really doing much maintenance anymore. The applications, the window comes and goes. So the last second, I just fill out an application. I'm like, I've got to at least do it. Really half-hearted the deal. And, 6 months later, I get a nice letter saying, "Yeah, we're declining your opportunity to buy this." And, I was just kind of mad at myself. I was like, I really should have tried harder. Not that I actually had a chance to get a Ford GT. So 2018 comes around, and I'm like, hey, we're going to build another 350 cars. We're re-releasing the application process. And so at this point, I was like, man, this time I've got to go all out. And I called my buddy Kyle from 1320 Video. He'd been videoing me street racing and drag racing over the years, so he and I became good buddies. And I was like, man, what are some ideas we can come up with? So we get to like 3 weeks before it's due. And a friend local to me is a videographer and a car guy. His name's Charles, and so Imagine Productions is his company name. But I said, Charles, we've got to do a video. 3 days before the application videos and the application is due, I call him like, dude, I've got like a 4-hour window. Can we make it happen? He's like, let's do it. I've got my 3-year-old daughter in a car seat in the front of the Ford GT. And that was common. I really think I owe Isabella this Ford GT because I really believe, is the reason that I got this car. At the very beginning of the video, we're singing Jingle Bells or something along those lines. And I hit it, and her legs go up and her arms go up, and she just, like any other day of the week, she's just loving it and screaming and having a good time. Sent off the application, figured I'll get another nice declined letter months from now. So I'm actually sitting at a Nike outlet store as I'm just kind of doing the checking of the emails. I see Ford Concierge, And I was like, what is that? Because it was a different looking email than my original declined email. So I open it up, and the first word is congratulations. And I was like, oh my gosh. Behind every good man is a good woman. And my wife just accepts my car obsession. She always has. We dated for a long time, and my buddies called her the project because we dated for so long. But so this was just a celebratory moment for us. And I called her, I was like, babe, we just kind of won a small lottery. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I got a Ford GT allocation. And she thought, that's cool. But she didn't realize, like, it, these cars are worth double or more what you're paying for them. And so once I explained that to her, she was just like, that's amazing. And what makes my wife so cool is, I was like, yeah, after 2 years we can sell it and make the money. She's like, you're not selling that car. She's like, she's the one that's telling me, no, we got to keep that. It's such a cool story. You've worked all your life for stuff like this. So why would you ever want to sell that car? And so my experience with Ford Concierge was just such a neat experience. It's so different than going to a Ford dealership and just, trying to buy a Mustang or something, and it just sometimes can feel a little greasy or whatever. Sometimes you have good experiences, sometimes not. Ford Concierge was just amazing. Met up with a guy named Sean. He was my concierge guy. He's a huge college football fan, as am I. So we instantly just hit it off. We would talk for 45 minutes to an hour about college football, about the Ford GT. I think my relationship that developed with him kind of caused my Ford GT experience to elevate. So they ended up offering me one of 20 heritage cars, the Ken Miles car. The number 98, epic spec, just the way, the configuration with the carbon fiber and the paint. All along, Sean's like, yeah, we're going to get you a heritage car. This is going to be awesome. And something just didn't align. I was just like, the only thing is, I really want this to be a car like I spec. Like, I want it to be something like I pick out all the details, and I want it to be a one of one. And so I told him that. He's like, you're crazy, because the heritage cars bring all the money. And he didn't say it in those words, but that's basically the conversation. And if you ever sell this thing, it's going to bring all the value. And I was like, I'm not in it for that. It's really about the experience. It's about the story. The money is a nice byproduct, but it's really about the car. Because through and through, I'm a car guy. And the stories are what drive me. And so Tuesday nights was date night with Kirsten. And for these few months that I had to decide on options and things I wanted to do with this car, about 4 or 5 date nights, we'd go eat something fast and we'd go walk car dealerships. The number one question I got after people found out I got the Ford GT allocation is, what color are you going to get? So I'd go into the story. Well, I've got the allocation now for a heritage car. I should do that, but I really want to get something custom. We would go walk dealerships, and it was good, get some cardio in. We go walk dealerships, and I'd take pictures of colors that I liked. It could be Audis, BMWs, Porsches. It didn't matter. We were getting back in the car one night. The dealerships were closed. And she looks back at the local Porsche dealership, and she's like, what about the one inside? And there said a Miami blue 911. And I was like, and that's the color. Called Sean, said, hey, I want to do Miami blue. I'll send you some samples I borrowed the samples from the Porsche dealership and mailed them up there. And Sean was just blown away. He was like, you're not going to do a heritage. Like, we've never had someone turn down a heritage allocation. Like, this is an elevated, like, you have to apply a second time to get a heritage type thing. It's like, man, I want a Miami blue Ford GT. They said, we're probably 2 years out. So you've got 2 years to wait. And I was really disappointed because I thought once we started the decision making, and that's because I'm coming up, they're like, no, sorry, you're probably going to be an end of 2021 or a 2022 model year. You would be a little earlier if you did the heritage cars because we're doing those first. And so I was like, man, that sucks. Because it was going to be 2 years, mentally, financially, I had teed up. Unfortunately, I sold my 2005 GT. I wasn't driving it as much. I had a McLaren 720 that I fell in love with. I was daily driving it, and the Ford GT was sitting a little bit more. So I'd sold it. That was kind of my down payment. You had to put 50% up front. So I'd sold it to kind of get ready, get geared up. And then they tell me, and this is like a couple of months later, they tell me, oh yeah, you're going to be 2 years before you see this thing. I was like, ugh. So I had since August of 1992, the DuPont Registry with the F40 on front, which I've still got that magazine. I still look at that magazine pretty regularly, actually. I've got some road and tracks too of that era, but I was like, okay, F40 time. Joe Saki, F40 specialist in the United States. I was like, let's find a car. Very quickly found me a car. This was actually before I found out about the 2 years. And he found me a car, and it was right in the middle of the Ford GT situation going on. It's an 8,000 mile car for 1.3, and if it comes from Joe, then you know it's gonna be perfect. I was like, man, I just found out I'm getting a Ford GT. I've got to save my money for that. Fast forward a few months, they tell me it's gonna be a couple years, and I get wind of a red Veyron, also a car that I was just in love with. Veyrons had gone on a dip. They were $1 million asking. You know, you could find them for under that. So I was like, I've got 2 years. I'm gonna go buy something like a Veyron and enjoy it. And a friend of mine had a red Veyron he was selling. It was Houston Cross's red 2008 Veyron. Sick car. And I went down to Dallas and test drove that. And as we're negotiating price, I get this email. I mean, literally days. Within these days, I get this email. Hey, your allocation we're getting pushed up. I didn't ask them why, but my allocation got pushed up nearly a year. And they were like, it's going to be end of 2020, early 2021. Maybe somebody backed out of their allocation. I can't imagine why you'd back out of a Ford GT when you can double your money. But I had to pass on the red Veyron. So they said, yeah, Ford GT is going to be on its way. We're in the middle of COVID and delay. And so, and man, that is really hard when you're so anxious to get this brand new Ford GT that you got so fortunate, you know, when celebrities, major YouTube guys that applied for these didn't get one, and this lawn boy from Edmond, Oklahoma gets an allocation. Like, it's such a neat experience. The excitement was just like next level. Weeks were going by, months were going by. I was just like, I just had to stay busy and not think about it. But I think April 2nd, 2021 is whenever it was going to be delivered. You know how anytime you get a car delivered, the shipper, the auto shippers, they're always late. They always get a day behind or 2 days, or they're never on time. So I was mentally like, there's no way. It's 9 a.m. They said it'll show up at the Ford dealership. I was like, there's no chance. Sure enough, 8:57, the reliable truck starts pulling by. I was like, oh, it just made the feeling all the better, not having to sit there and wait that last couple hours waiting on the show, you know, finally get there. My wife and my Isabella was there with me, sharing that experience with them. It's an emotional thing for me. Like, I was just overcome with emotion. You know, Ford did such an incredible job, you know, for guys that were lucky enough to get one, just how they treated the process. It was such a 5-star experience. It was an epic experience for sure.
We'd like to thank Glossit for supporting the VINwiki channel this month. And right now, Glossit is offering the best DIY ceramic coating package that we've ever seen, or certainly offered here on VINwiki. For just $69.99, you're going to get their graphene ceramic coating along with the Real Difference Maker, their ceramic detail spray. Now, that's a $50 bottle of spray detailer that I truly love just for daily use. But when you use that alongside their graphene ceramic coating, it makes the removal a lot easier, the outcome a lot smoother. You avoid high spots and things like that. So a DIY idiot like me in my own garage can achieve an outcome pretty similar to what Rich and his team were able to do last year on the Paris Hilton SLR, which I eventually torture tested on rallies and road trips and all this stuff. And it is now in Bulgaria, still looking wonderful. So check it out now at the link in the description below. There's a very limited quantity, so respond now and get yours for just $69.99. Thanks, Glossit.